What is happening, my people? It is I, Cool Cat Jack, and with me is my co-host, Logan. Welcome back to the Knuckle Dragger's Guide to Culture. Are you looking for a way to show off your superior knowledge to all those troglodytes that stumble and grunt around you? Do you want to be the smoothest conversationalist at your lunch break? Then get ready to be the master of superficial intelligence. Movies, music, books, TV shows, video games, history, politics, sexy cave women, and interrupting dogs. We have it all. The Knuckle Dragger's Guide to Culture, because it's time to give your dome some love.
Yes!
I think I fucked it up a little bit.
There's a little pause.
I slurred.
But it's alright. It's all good,
It's going to
buddy.
bother me. Well, hey, everybody, we're back. I know. You all thought we might have disappeared forever again.
But you fuckers were wrong.
We're here. We're like a boil on your ass. We'll go away. Today, we're going to be looking at Tremors. The 1990s sci-fi, I guess, action, horror.
One of the few creature features that I don't mind watching all the shitty sequels that came out.
Yeah, I loved these movies. When I was a kid, I used to watch the first two of them. My dad had them on VHS. For all you Zoomers out there, VHS was what they had before DVD. You had these strange black cases
of plastic. You would shove in like an 8-track player.
Yeah.
They probably actually 8-track players were further back than that.
Yeah, you'd have to rewind it.
Did
you bring up 8-track? I don't even know what I barely know what an 8-track even is.
Listen, man.
Let's get our disclaimers out of the way first. You know, we're just two schmucks living life. We don't know shit.
We're not experts at all.
Yeah, if we get something wrong, let us know.
Please.
Oh, yeah. Sorry we haven't been letting our disclaimers out lately.
Yeah.
Kind of spaced on it the last couple times.
But it's okay.
Next disclaimer, any children listening,
go away.
Be gone. Anyway, so like I said, we're looking at Tremors, the 1990 movie with Keven Bacon and Reba Mcentire. Time to get the, spoiler-free part out of the way. Tremors is a creature feature about a town in the ass end of nowhere. Some underground ancient monsters or tunneling creatures start eating people, and they gotta find a way to get away from them.
That's spoiler free.
I mean, it's not exactly like there's a lot of twists and turns in this movie.
No, it's as basic as the story goes.
Yeah, weirdly enough, it was PG-13 too.
Yeah.
So that should tell you another thing. It's not exactly scary.
Although there is a lot more curse words around than PG-13 movies now.
Oh well, then they call everyone sucker. And it's really funny. Like, can you fly, sucker? Like I said, it's got Keven Bacon as Valentine, and it's him and his buddy Earl. So our story starts out with Keven Bacon
peeing off a cliff.
That's right. Earl and Valentine are these two dudes that work, like I said, in this town of Perfection. So Perfection is like a town of like less than 100 people. There's like 30 people that live there. Basically, the beginning of the movie then is kind of them going around doing a bunch of odd jobs, complaining about how much their life sucks. Mm-hmm. So they have this plan. They basically want to leave and go to Bixby, make a life in the big city. The beginning part, them doing odd jobs, kind of introduces us to all the characters that will play a part. There's a lot of characters.
This small bit of them doing odd jobs kind of introduces how they view each other, too.
It's actually surprising. All the townspeople have their own personalities, and even with very limited amount of time, each of them... I remembered most of their voices or names, which should tell you something. Mm-hmm. I was going to make a joke about how, they make us, meet all the townsfolk, as a joke, but, I mean, we literally do meet all the townsfolk. Mm-hmm. I mean, there can't be more than 20 people in this fucking town. Lots going on. Valentine and them drive by and they see a truck out in the middle of nowhere. Earl mentions that they're getting a new seismologist. There's a college nearby that likes to do seismological surveys, I guess, as like a way for students to get credit or something. They find out it's a new female student, and Valentine,
being the playboy and wonderful human being, is like, I hope she has. What was his fucking list that he had?
Blonde hair, green eyes, world-class breasts.
Legs that go all the way up or something like that. Ass that don't quit too.
Ass that don't quit and legs that go all the way down. Clearly he's a man of taste.
Exquisite taste.
They drive up, and it turns out that this introduces our other character, Rhonda Lebec, who doesn't really fit his criteria. List. I mean, I don't know why this guy's so picky. He's in a town full of 20 people. Most of them are dudes anyway.
Yeah.
So I wouldn't be that picky if I was him. They introduce Rhonda, who has some shit on her nose. It was really
I think it's supposed to be sunscreen or something.
Yeah, but then she scratches her nose later and realizes it's on her nose. They're trying to trick us into thinking this isn't a good-looking woman. And, like I said, she's not like, like a supermodel, but she's a pretty good looking girl. So like, no, you're not gonna like fool me movie, all right? Yeah. So Rhonda's talking with them and asks if they know of anyone drilling or blasting rocks around the area. Earl, Valentine don't know
They kind of scoff and say, hell no, not around here.
Yeah, they don't know what she's talking about. They got to go do some more odd jobs.
Septic tank work.
Yeah. Well, before we get there, they actually drive into town. I forget exactly why they're going. They basically go back and forth like 20 freaking times to this town. In the local convenience store / bar.
It's like a general store.
Yeah, it's like a general store. We get to meet Burt and Reba Mcentire. She has a name, but I'm just going to call her Reba because that's all I remember her as. Who are a couple of like survivalist types. They're like conspiracy theorists. A house that's got like a bunker and like they're basically preparing for World War III. They have
they're like every 2012 doomsday prepper on crack.
They have like every gun known to man.
They have fucking elephant guns, things that have giant slugs the size of your eyeballs.
We also get introduced to that fucking old dude from Three Ninjas.
Oh my god, it is.
And he's also in Karate Kid. That's the little old man's name. I just called him the Karate Kid Grandpa. He runs the store, little Asian man. I think his name's Old Man Chang. I think Miguel's in there. He's some old Mexican dude. He's a pretty cool dude.
Yeah.
Earl and Valentine talk to them, and basically they get told they got some other jobs to do. Again, the whole time this is going on, Valentine and Earl are arguing about whether they should leave for Bixby. This is where the septic tank thing comes up. Oh, God. They're like cleaning out the septic tanks in the area, which is something they have to do because, out in bumfuck nowhere, they don't have like piping and stuff. So
somebody drain the septic tank. Yeah.
So after that explodes on them, they decide they're going to get the fuck out of this shithole town.
Can we talk about the little teenage bastard that was giving them shit the entire time?
Oh yeah, they're like draining the septic tank, and this one fucking little turd kid is like giving him attitude. What was his name? Whatever.
Yeah, no.
It's not that important.
Yeah, he's not really that. He's just annoying more than anything.
This is the first time they're leaving for good. And let me tell you guys, these fuckers never leave. They keep trying to leave this fucking town, and they keep getting dragged back. While they're on their way, they notice Edgar, the local drunk, hanging up on the power lines. I guess he's an electrician, and he's not moving, so they figure he's drunk as a skunk. This is another thing that keeps going on between Earl and Valentine, is they keep doing this game of rock, paper, scissors to decide who has to do stuff. So Valentine keeps losing, so he has to climb up there and pull his drunk ass down. This is when we find out that Edgar is actually dead. And they bring him back to town. This is the second time we've had to go back to town. I tried to count the number of times they go back to town. The local doctor tells them that he died of dehydration, which I think is a little odd because that would take, at least 3 or 4 days. I mean, this is the middle of the desert, but even then it would still take a while for someone to die of dehydration. That conversation's going on. We pan to a random guy, old guy with sheep. I think his name is Fred. So Fred kind of tilling his ground, and his sheep are nearby, and they're making a bunch of noise. They seem really nervous. The camera does this thing where it kind of comes down low, and this is to give you the viewpoint of the creatures, the graboids. By the way, guys, the name graboid isn't mentioned in this movie, but it is in the later movies.
It is. They come up with it like later on.
They?
Well, Chang or whatever his name is or whatever.
I guess they did mention it. Well, anyway, so graboid is more used in the other movies, though. They don't really define too much about the creature in the first movie. I don't think they expected this movie to have a bunch of sequels.
I don't even think they expected to make a profit as much as it did.
Yeah, I don't think they expected there to be any sequels. There's actually, 4 sequels?
5.
I think.
But we don't talk about the 6th one.
Oh, yeah, okay. But, yeah, there's a lot of sequels, and we will be looking at the other ones, guys.
Oh, God, I love them.
Because we love these movies. Don't get me wrong, guys. This movie is cheesy and dorky, but...
The practical effects are bad, though.
Poor old Fred, who we get introduced to, unfortunately gets attacked by the camera. Earl and Valentine are leaving again, and they stop by and they see Fred's sheep have all been basically slaughtered.
It's like giant meaty red bits everywhere. It's fucking disgusting.
Yeah, so they're looking for Fred, and they see a hat on the ground. They pull the hat, and then there's Fred's face.
No, it's a stuffed head.
It was a plastic head. It was really dorky. This would be, again, the next time that Earl and Valentine
go back to town.
Number 3. So while they're going by, they warn some road workers nearby that there's some crazy killer out there murdering people and cutting off their heads. But unfortunately, immediately after they drive away, the road workers get attacked.
One of them is working with a jackhammer, and they pierce.
He drills in, he stabs into one of the graboids, and the graboid attacks him, and the other guy gets attacked too, and they both end up dead. So Earl and Valentine go back again to town. They try to use the phone nearby. By the way, this movie's in the 90s, so cell phones aren't as common. They're also in bumfuck nowhere, so there's really no signals. They decide to leave town again to go get the police. And unfortunately, there's been a landslide due to the road workers being attacked. They also find the road worker's helmet full of like blood and gunk and stuff. Yeah, so the road is completely caved in. They cannot leave, and it's the only road out of town because the rest is just mountains that surround them.
I gotta say, it's a big oversight to the people whoever made this town. It's making it a straight fucking line. That's really stupid.
Earl and Valentine go back to town. 4? Like,
It's 3.
no, 4.
Is it 4?
Yeah, it's 4.
Jesus Christ.
They find out when they were driving back after the cave-in, they were having issues with their car. When they get back to town, they realize the reason why is that one of the graboids had actually attached itself to the back.
To the fucking axle or something like that.
The back of the truck. Like, it's like this little worm thing. So at first you think it's like this little worm.
No, it's just an eel that kind of got torn off, yeah.
And of course, Karate Kid Grandpa buys it for $15 from them. Kind of dumb of him. It's some.
I actually kind of find it funny.
Some alien
shit they're fucking on.
Oh, and old man is like way smarter than them because he starts charging like $3
For a photo.
Yeah, so they get kind of ripped off. It pans to nighttime, and we're actually with the doctor again and his wife, and they've got this like RV set up, and they're actually building the base for their house they want to build. But unfortunately, Doctor doesn't get to live because he gets attacked by one of the graboids, and he gets eaten, and his wife freaks out.
Runs into the station wagon.
Yeah, she goes into the car to hide, but the radio starts going off, and unfortunately, they literally pull the car into the ground. I don't know how the fuck they did that either.
I don't know either, dude.
But yeah, they pull the entire truck in, and she gets buried alive. So we go back to town where Chang is charging $3 per photo with the graboid. Burt and Reba go there. They're talking, and they basically say to Earl and Valentine they need to go take some horses to Bigsby to get help. Burt and Reba decide they're going to go try to warn Rhonda.
Or yeah, something like that.
So they're going to go warn Rhonda while Earl and Valentine take these horses to Bigsby. They're riding their horses to Bigsby, and they find the doctor's car buried under the ground because they can hear the radio. They also find out that the graboids are not as small as they thought they were because their horses get attacked and get pulled under the ground. So horses are basically been eaten alive. So Earl and Valentine end up running from this fucking thing, where they run into like a wash. It's like a cement block. Where luckily the thing, again, can't see at this point. Like, it hits the cement wall and then it dies. This is where Rhonda shows up again, and they start studying the thing. So they find out it's blind, it digs, and it tracks by sound. Rhonda also somehow determines that there's like 3 of them left.
Because she has different seismographs in different locations. And apparently they all went off around the same, something like that.
Science.
Yeah, science flew.
Earl, Valentine, and Rhonda end up being attacked again while they're talking about this. And they end up hiding on these big rocks. So we find out that the creatures can't dig through rock.
That's a good thing.
But unfortunately, they also end up stuck on this rock, which is a bad thing. And these things are very, very patient. See, it turns out that our drunk friend was stuck up there for 3 days because the graboid would not leave. It basically just waited him out until he died of dehydration. They're ending up on the big rock, and they're literally there all night, and it's still there. At this point, Rhonda comes up with an idea where she takes some sticks nearby, because her car is near the rock. There's some more rocks, and her car is near one of those. So they kind of pole vault between the rocks
to get over to her truck.
Yeah, so they get in the truck, and they go back to town.
So it's number 5?
5. Earl and Valentine are at the convenience store with other townspeople, and they come up with a plan to go to the mountains. Unfortunately, at the time, Mindy, who's this local girl who likes to use a pogo stick, she gets attacked along with the local punk kid. So everybody ends up in different buildings. Earl, Valentine, I think Miguel, and Rhonda end up in the convenience store with, I think it was also Old Man Chang. He's still alive at this point. Kid ends up on a shed. Ned.
Oh, you only see him around that time, too. It's the funniest thing. They don't really introduce him. It's the saddest part. You're like, oh, yeah, he's going to die.
So Ned ended up stuck on his. Yeah, he's doomed. Mindy and her mom end up in their house. At this point, too, one of the graboids ends up attacking Burt and Reba back in their bunker, which doesn't go well.
No. They unload a shit ton of lead on these guys.
Yeah, we may be getting the time frame a little different.
Well, there is a lot of like speculation in them figuring stuff out while they're on top of the roof. To be fair, though.
Yeah. At some point too, Rhonda had to take her pants off because it was important.
Reasons.
The soda machine starts going off. It kills Old Man Chang. Everybody ends up getting on their roofs. I think this is when they radio to Burt and Reba.
It's more so Burt radioed to them to see if everything was okay.
So I think it was Valentine who gets the radio, like the ham radio. So anyway, so they're kind of having a back and forth. They're trying to explain to Reba and Burt about the graboids. And unfortunately, while they're doing this too, they have like this thing where they take, I forget what they're called, but they basically take used shells from bullets. Because you guys got to realize these guys have like so many guns. It's ridiculous.
A lot of guns.
The Terminator would be jealous. But they have this machine like shaking the shells or something. I'm not really...
So they can reuse them. Yeah, so they can clean them out of the excess gunpowder that's burned onto the shells and stuff like that.
So the graboid attacks their bunker, and like I said, they shoot the living hell out of this fucking thing. Like they have like an elephant gun. They got like Uzis.
They got an M16 firing it from the hip and shit.
You got the frickin' gun Charles Bronson used. After they shoot the hell out of it, Burt and Reba get up on the roof, and they're trying to figure out a plan.
Of course, they grab a bunch of guns on the way.
Of course they do. They do grab a bunch of guns. So the graboids in town start trying to knock the buildings down. So they determine that they can't stay in town. Because this is around the time that Reba and Burt's truck gets destroyed, so they can't use that one. Miguel has this idea, because they have a cat, which if you guys don't know what that is, it's like a bulldozer.
It's a heavy machinery tractor.
It's like a bulldozer thing. And it's just outside of town, and there's like a dirt thing that can hook to it that can hold people. So what they decide is that since the graboids, because there's two in town at this point, they decide that the cat is the only thing that would be able to survive because it's too heavy for them to pull down. So they're going to hook up this, the thing you use to hold dirt, they're going to hook it up to the cat, pick everyone up in town, and go get Burt and Reba and drive to the mountains.
Before we say anything else, throughout the movie they show that the creatures learn, like they adapt extremely well.
Yeah, in fact, the last graboid, which, I guess spoilers, but the last graboid to be destroyed is actually the first one we encounter, and it actually learns pretty quickly. So they are very, very clever creatures. They're patient, they'll wait you out, they can set up ambushes, as we'll find out later on, and they don't repeat mistakes. They're really interesting little creatures. They're like really giant worms too. Yeah, they have like these little worms that everyone thought was what they were, but they're actually like 30,
like
40
tongues,
feet long.
Yeah, something like that. Like tongues that have teeth on them. They grab and pull. It's like they're like sand lions if sand lions were giant fucking worms.
And like I said, they're like 40, 50 feet long. They're like ridiculous. They're huge. They're strong enough to pull a freaking truck, down into the dirt. What they decide to do is that in order to get to the cat, they have to set up a diversion. So Miguel comes up with this idea. They have this like little dune buggy thing nearby.
It's like a tractor.
Yeah, it's like a tractor.
Tiny, tiny tractor.
So what they do is they turn it on and have it drive as a diversion, and it gets the graboids to follow it. And Valentine runs out to get the cat. Unfortunately, what ends up happening is halfway there,
tractor flips.
Yeah, it flips, it fails, and so he has to basically stop, and like they're looking for him because they can't hear him. As long as they can't hear him,
they can't
find him. But they're looking for him, right? So everyone else starts making noise so that he can get to the cat, which he manages to do while these things are freaking out, and he gets to it, hooks it up, grabs everybody in town. So Burt and Reba, while this is going on, are making bombs, because of course they are.
Making fucking IEDs on the fucking roof.
Yeah, they're just making bombs, as you do. So Valentine gets Burt and Reba, and they join them, and they're driving. They basically have 9 miles to go on this like cat, but it's really, really slow. But unfortunately for them, the graboids get smart, set up a trap ahead of them because they can't pull down the cat because it's too heavy. So what they do is they actually make a sinkhole, basically, on the road. And I'm not sure how they knew which direction they were going to go, but I guess...
Well, I mean, they established that it's a straight line. The town is an entire straight line. There's only 2 ways out, basically.
The cat ends up falling into a sinkhole, and they all end up running to a rock nearby. Burt
kind of has a meltdown with Valentine and the other guy.
Valentine and Earl. They come up with a plan, though. So earlier, when they were trying to get out of there, Burt had used a bomb to confuse it so they could get away off the cat. Which they find out that because they base their hunting skills off sound, loud noises actually really hurt them. But they come up with a plan. Burt and Earl take one of these bombs and they tie it up with a lasso, because Earl, I guess, he used to work a lot with cattle, so he knows how to He knows how to use lassos. They set the bomb, they light the bomb, and they throw it, and they're starting to drag it to make noise. One of the graboids actually grabs it, swallows it, and they blow it up. So they kill one of the 2 graboids left. So there's one left.
Cue a gore shower.
They get covered in like squash.
It's basically pumpkin regurgitated and put like corn syrup over and shit. Yeah. It's actually really disgusting.
Yeah, they're like covered in it. They're all happy because they killed one of them. They decide they're going to try this again, but unfortunately what ends up happening is they do the bomb thing, and it swallows it, and at first they're like, yay! And then it spits it out
right at them.
It manages to land on the bombs, like all the other bombs they had made. So everyone scatters when this explodes, and unfortunately, this means that Earl, Valentine, and Rhonda are actually off the rock. They end up having to, run, and then they stop because, the thing starts looking for them because it knows they're not there, but they stop moving, so it doesn't know exactly where they're at. Also, because of the bombs, it's still kind of confused. They're stuck out in the desert, and basically, Earl says, throw the bomb so we can get back to the rock.
He's like, this is the only one we got left.
And Valentine basically says, if we go back, we'll just get stuck, and we'll end up just dying of dehydration. So he comes up with an idea, and basically he starts running with the bomb. Earl and Rhonda end up following him because, he says he has a plan.
Well, Rhonda doesn't initially try to follow him until she finds out she took his lighter.
Yeah, so she has his lighter, so she throws him the lighter. He lights the bomb, and he actually stands near a cliff face, basically.
I think it is the cliff that starts the movie, too.
Yeah, it's the one he's pissing off of. Which is actually a callback, because in the beginning of the movie, he's talking about a stampede he was in, right? Earl was asleep in the back of his truck. Valentine's like, stampede, to wake him up. And he's all talking about how he was in a stampede. And Earl made this joke about, or Valentine made this joke about how many people does it take to make a stampede? Is it 3? Which, ironically, it's 3 people running to a cliff. Rhonda and Earl get out of the way, but he's standing there near the cliff following them, and he throws the bomb, but he throws it past the creature, which
makes it go faster.
Yeah, which also means it won't stop because of the loud noise that's running from it. And he manages to jump out of the way in time, and the last graboid ends up flying off this cliff and landing and
splatting
on a bunch of rocks on the bottom. So he ends up dead. And that's how they beat the graboids, at least in the first movie. So after that, it goes back to Earl and Valentine getting ready to go to Bigsby. And then, of course, Valentine ends up going and he kisses the girl, and the movie ends. They're also talking about being in National Geographic and People's Magazine. That is the first Tremors movie. And like I said, guys, there's a lot more.
5 more, in fact.
5 more. Last one was so bad, though.
Yeah.
But yeah, we'll be looking at those ones because I like those movies. And the second one was like my favorite as a kid.
I was incredibly surprised the first time I saw it and how much fun I had watching these damn movies.
Like, make no mistake, these are not Oscar-worthy movies.
No, but they are so fun.
Yeah, they're pretty fun. We're looking at, for the next thing we want to do is we actually want to get into a game. We're actually going to be looking at the new computer version of Gauntlet, which for those of you who don't know, Gauntlet started out as an arcade game. When I found out about this game, I've actually had this game for a while, but I bought this game because I used to play, there's like a Peter Piper Pizza near my house that me and my brother used to go to on the weekends. We'd play in the arcade. My mom would give us like $10 and we'd go and play Gauntlet together. I got that. I'm going to sucker Logan into getting it and then hope maybe even my other friend so we can maybe get the fuzz back on here.
Maybe.
But it'll be at least us two because we're going to play it. I've been playing it. It's a lot of fun. That'll probably be the next thing we're going to do.
Song of the day.
Okay, so for our Song of the Day, we were having a hard time with this one. At first we thought we might do a Reba Mcentire song, but then we thought, nah, all right. So we ended up doing Walkin Through the Desert with a Crow by Ghoultown. It's kind of a dark country metal band, I guess.
More grunge than metal, but yeah.
Yeah, dark country, grunge, whatever. I love Ghoultown. I just really wanted an excuse to use a Ghoultown song because I love that band. I hope you're not going crazy with lockdown and everything going on. I'm very excited about October coming up because I have some plans. Yeah, I don't want to get too much into it right now, but I have some plans to be looking at some Lovecraft stories because I'm a huge H.P. Lovecraft fan. I think I mentioned this before. I've read every Lovecraft short story pretty much. I actually have a giant book of all the stories. I've read them. I've listened to the audiobook versions of them, which is my favorite way to experience them. I've watched, some movies that were made about them. Lots of things have been influenced by them. I'm thinking in October, I'm going to start doing that. I may even... Well, we're going to be looking at them anyway. And then also, there's some other horror stuff I want to get into. But we'll get into that later. Be looking for Gauntlet. I don't know how long it'll take us to play that. Probably not too long.
Probably not.
We may just do the base game and then just play it a bunch. Because, I mean, honestly, Gauntlet's not exactly a game you play for the story anyway. It's mostly just to beat 'em up, which is pretty fun. Hopefully you're all staying sane. I hope this lockdown eventually ends because you can't live in perpetual
insanity.
Half lockdown.
Yeah.
Well, anyway, have a good night. Bye.
Bye.